Hey everyone, welcome to Judging for the Win. I'm Dave, and this is my daily ruling. Today's question was suggested by a viewer. Amy uses Confession Dial to give Gorex the Tombshell escape. If Amy has 5 cards in her graveyard to exile, how much mana will the spell cost? Would she be able to return those cards to her hand when Gorex attacks or dies? Well, first off, if Amy has at least 2 creature cards in her graveyard, she would be able to exile all 5 cards. Gorex's top ability works anytime you're casting the spell, not just when you're casting it in the normal way. So to cast Gorex, Amy would say that she's exiling 2 extra cards, and then the cost to calculate Gorex is calculated. Exile 3 cards for escape, plus exile 2 extra creature cards, plus pay 4 mana. Each card that's exiled can only be applied to 1 cost. Therefore, any creature cards that are exiled with escape will not reduce the mana part of the cost, because they were not exiled this way. They were exiled for some other reason. Another kind of interesting consequence of this is that there are 2 instances of exiling cards from your graveyard when you're casting the spell. I talked about some of the consequences of that in my video about how Quintorius interacts with the escape mechanic. Now, let's take a look at Gorex's other ability. When it attacks or dies, you can return a card exiled with Gorex to your hand. This template indicates that this ability is linked to the top ability. Only cards that were exiled with the top ability can be returned. So no, you can't use Confession Dial as a loophole to let you recycle additional or non-creature cards with Gorex. This does mean that when Amy casts Gorex, she needs to specify exactly which cards are the 3 that she's using to pay the escape cost, and which ones she's exiling for Gorex's own ability, because the escape ones are gone for good, and they're not eligible to be returned. Now, I'm sure now that I've said this, the comment section will be filled with people who are wondering what to do if Amy doesn't specify this, so I might as well briefly go over that too. There isn't really a clean answer to this situation, but I'll do my best to give an outline of the concepts that a judge would consider to generate a ruling. Characterizing this infraction is a bit tricky. It's definitely possible that it could be a communication policy violation, since which cards got exiled by which effect would be considered free information, and Amy has incorrectly represented that there is no difference between these cards. On the other hand, to count as a CPV, a judge needs to believe that an opponent's in-game decisions were affected by the erroneous information, which may or may not be the case. If the judge rules a CPV, a backup to the point of the affected decision can be considered. If the judge does not rule a CPV, a game rule violation is the next obvious choice for the infraction. The fix for this would be to either leave the game state as is or to back up to the point of the error. Note that this is not exactly the same as the previous case because the backup is to a different point. Now, I talked a lot more about backups in a dedicated video that I made a short while ago, and so you can check that out if you're interested in more details about the decision about whether you want to back up and how that would be accomplished. I should mention that there is a partial fix available, which seems tantalizing, but my personal opinion is that applying it here is a bit forced, because this situation isn't really the same as the situation where the partial fix is meant to apply. Rather, leaving the game state as is should include Amy clearly specifying which effect exiled which of the cards, since in my view, Amy definitely did exile 3 cards to escape and the rest for Gorex's ability. She just didn't say which cards those were. I could see some judges might disagree with this, but this is a very complex ruling with a lot of decisions that depend on in-game factors that are difficult to represent well in a short video. Although this ruling doesn't lend itself easily to this sort of discussion, you should at least have an idea of the stuff that a judge would be considering when making it. And that's all I have for you today. How did you do? Join me again next time for another daily ruling. Until then, I hope you have a great day.